Hello, hi would be lifesavers. This is your KK sir. In this session, we are going to discuss the previous questions which were asked from the topic menstrual cycle. So many questions were asked from this one. Let us see one by one. So, what kind of questions were asked from the menstrual cycle? So, especially they are focusing on the hormones which are affecting the menstrual cycle and the different kinds of things. Some are very easy and some are somewhat logical questions were asked. Yes, without late, we are going to see these questions. Menstrual cycle. Here is the first question. It was asked in 2025 question paper. So this is very easy one. The first menstruation is called. This is the direct question. So here no need to worry about this one. So that is menarche, right? Menarche is the first menstrual cycle. Menstruation is known as menarche, and the passing or permanent ceasing of this menstrual cycle is known as menopause. So just it happens around at the age of 50 years old, right? So ovulation, that we know that particular option. Releasing of ovum from the Graafian follicle is known as ovulation. So diapause, which is not at all given in our textbook, so leave it about that one. And we'll switch on to the next one, that is consider the following statements, and we have to find out the correct answer from the options given below, right? Now let us see one by one. The first statement is the reductive division. So what is the reductive division? That is meiosis. The reductive division for the human female gametogenesis starts earlier than that of the male gametogenesis. So reduction division generally it takes place very earlier in case of females, right? In the embryonic stage itself, the oogenesis is initiated, right? Oogenesis is initiated. So that's already we discussed in our previous lecture. So oogenesis is initiated at the embryonic stage, whereas the spermatogenesis is initiated in the puberty stage of males, right? That's what here the option is, the reductive division, that is a meiosis for the human female gametogenesis, that is oogenesis process. Generally the oogonia, which in turn it turns into the primary oocyte, so that which is arrested in the prophase 1. Now the reduction division taking place before the male reproductive system, that is the male gametogenesis. Now this statement is correct, right? And we'll see the next one. The gap between the first meiotic division and the second meiotic division is much shorter for males compared to females. Yes, absolutely, this one also right one, because here the question is, the statement is the first meiotic division in case of males, after the first division, the primary spermatocyte is going to divide it into secondary spermatocyte. Immediately, without any time, the second meiotic division also takes place there itself, right? This secondary spermatocyte is going to divide into spermatid. So that is a result of second meiosis. So meiotic division 2. So that is immediately taking place, right, in case of males. Whereas in case of females, if you see the first meiotic division, so that is arrested in prophase 1. When the girls are entering into the puberty stage, that time the second meiotic division takes place. Now here the duration between the first meiotic division and second meiotic division is around 10 years plus. That's what the second meiotic division is taking place very late in case of females, right? Now see here again we will go through this statement. The gap between the first meiotic division and the second meiotic division is much shorter for male compared to females. Yes, it is a shorter. It's the period of time in between the meiosis 1 and meiosis 2 is very shorter in case of males, where it takes around 10 years in case of females. Now this statement also right one, right? And let us see the third statement. The first polar body is associated with the formation of the primary oocyte, right? The first polar body is associated with the formation of the primary oocyte. No, it is not the right statement, because so this is the oogonia, here, this is the oogonia, and from the oogonia primary oocyte is going to be developed, right? From this primary oocyte only, one first polar body is going to be formed, and this is the This is the first polar body, and this is the primary oocyte, this is the oogonia, right? This is the primary oocyte, this is the secondary oocyte. Now, formation of the first polar body associated with secondary oocyte, right? Secondary oocyte. But the statement is here, the first polar body is associated with the formation of the primary oocyte. So, this is the wrong statement, right? And luteinizing hormone surge leads to disintegration of the endometrium and onset of menstrual bleeding. This is also wrong statement. Because when luteinizing hormone surge means, so large amount of luteinizing hormone released suddenly, that is known as luteinizing surge, leads to disintegration of endometrium, not disintegration. The endometrium is going to be developed more and more inside the uterus when this luteinizing hormone is released. So that means when this luteinizing hormone sludge is happening, what happens here? The ovulation takes place. As a result, the corpus luteum is going to be formed. So from the corpus luteum, the more amount of progesterone is going to be secreted. So more amount of progesterone, if that is secreted, what happens? The endometrium is going to be developed more and more, but not disintegration of endometrium. Now this statement also wrong. So A and B statements are right statement. Now the answer is here, A and B are true. So that is the second one, and let us see the next one. Here assertion and reasoning type of question is asked in 2000, we'll see that one here. So given below are the two statements, right? Assertion, here is the assertion. During the menstrual cycle, the ovulation takes place approximately on 14th day, right? It is exactly right statement. Purely it is right. It could be maybe one day less or one day more than the 14th day. So around, if you are generalizing about, if you are talking about the ovulation, generally we say that the ovulation process takes place at on 14th day of the menstrual cycle. And the reason is rapid secretion of LH. Just now we discussed that. There is a rapid secretion of more amount of luteinizing hormone is known as LH surge. So because of this LH surge only, the ovum is going to be released from the Graafian follicle, right? So rapid secretion of LH in the middle of the menstrual cycle. In the middle of the menstrual cycle is nothing but here. So 1 to 28 days is the menstrual cycle period. So in the middle of this menstrual cycle is nothing but 14th day, around 14th day. The rapid secretion of luteinizing hormone in the middle of the menstrual cycle induces rupture of Graafian follicle and thereby the release of ovum. So that is the ovulation process, generally it takes place in 14th day. So because of the LH surge only, the ovulation takes place. Now this is the right statement, this is the right reason for the first one, right? Let us see that. A is correct but B is not correct. A is not correct but R is correct. So both the statements are right, and this is the proper reason for the A1. And let us see the next one also. So what were the options given here? Now we will check it here. Both the A and R correct, yes, and R is the correct explanation of A. Now this is the right answer. So both the A and R are correct, but R is not the correct explanation of A. So that is not the right one. So here this is the right answer. Now again one more question like that only. So this is the question which was asked in the 2024 examination. Right, here we will see the again 2024 examination question only. Assertion: follicle stimulating hormone acts upon ovarian follicles in females and Leydig cells in male. So this is first we have to. So after that we are going to read all these things. First we have to check whether the statement is right or wrong. Follicle stimulating hormone, which is coming from the pituitary anterior lobe. So this particular follicle stimulating, this is the follicle stimulating hormone. So I already said, you just round up this S. When we are talking about this follicle stimulating hormone, you must round up the S, because this is going to act on Sertoli cells, right? So as a result, some of the factors which are essential for spermiogenesis, they are going to be released from the Sertoli cells in case of males, right? In case of females, this follicle stimulating hormone is going to act on the follicles which are developing inside the ovaries. So that is especially this follicle stimulating hormone. It's going to act on the follicles, primary, secondary, tertiary follicles. From that follicles, the estrogen is going to be released, right. So generally this follicle stimulating hormone acts on follicles in case of females. Generally this is useful for the development of the follicles. As a result, the estrogen is going to be secreted. Estrogen is going to be secreted. Here some of the factors, generally these factors are inhibin. One is inhibin, and second one is that is androgen binding protein and androgen binding. These are the two factors which are released from the Sertoli cells. So upon acting, follicle stimulating hormone is going to act on the Sertoli cell. As a result, some of the factors such as inhibin and androgen binding protein, these two are going to be released from the Sertoli cells, right. So in case of luteinizing hormone, so whenever we are talking about luteinizing hormone, you must round up L, because it's going to act on Leydig cell, right, Leydig cells, or else we can say interstitial cell. As a result, the testosterone is going to be secreted, which is going to promote a spermatogenesis process, right. So more amount of testosterone, ultimately it's going to give the negative feedback, which is going to reduce the release of luteinizing hormone. So these are the things what happens actually in case of males and females, right. Now let us check whether the statement is right or wrong. Follicle stimulating hormone acts upon the ovarian follicles. Yes, of course it could act on ovarian follicles in females and Leydig cells in male, but it doesn't act on Leydig cell. It is acting on Sertoli cells or nurse cells. We can say them nurse cells also, because they are providing the nutrients to spermatozoa, right. That's what Sertoli cells also said to be nurse cells, right. Now this statement is wrong. We can say it's very clearly that the follicle stimulating hormone is not going to act on Leydig cells, but in the statement follicle stimulating hormone is going to act on Leydig cells in case of male. It has been given, but this statement is wrong. Let us see the reason. Growing ovarian follicles secrete estrogen in female, while interstitial cells secrete androgens in case of male human being. Yes, this statement is right statement. So here the Leydig cells, or else these cells also known as interstitial cells, these interstitial cells are secreting testosterone hormone in case of males, whereas the growing ovarian follicles secrete, already we discussed. What is that? The growing ovarian follicles, they secrete estrogen in case of females. Now particularly this statement is right. Now the R statement is only right. The A statement is false, but R is true. So D is the right answer. This is also very easy one, but you should command over all these hormones which is acting on which, and what is the resultant of when it is acting on something. You should remember everything, right. And let us see the next one. Right, which of the following statements are correct regarding female reproductive cycle? Now the female reproductive cycle, we are going to discuss this one here. In non-primate mammals, already we were discussed this one. So primates, this menstrual cycle is generally, it takes place in the primates, especially in case of human beings and monkeys and apes. So these three were given in our textbook. But if it is happening, if the menstrual cycle is taking place in case of non-primates, already we discussed, that is called as estrous cycle. In non-primates mammals, cyclic changes during the reproduction are called estrous cycle. Now this statement is right one. And first menstrual cycle begins at the puberty and it is called menopause. So this is wrong statement. The first menstrual cycle is known as menarche, but here the menopause given. So this is the wrong statement. Lack of menstruation may be indicative of pregnancy. Yes, this is also right statement. If the menstrual cycle is not taking place, what happen? It is not only the reason, it could indicate that it is the reason for the pregnancy, or else sometimes in case of stress also, or in case of any health problems, So there is some kind of delay in the menstrual cycle. Now this is also right statement. And cyclic menstruation extends between the menarche and menopause. So this is also right statement. Now the statement which is given here is, this is only the false statement. Now right answers are A, C, D are the right answers. So here the B statement is, B option is right here. And let us switch on to the next one. Which of the following hormone levels will cause the release of ovum from the Graafian follicle? This is a very easy one, that we know that. See, which of the following hormone levels will cause the release of ovum from the Graafian follicle? So here, high concentration of estrogen, this is wrong. High concentration of progesterone. So after the ovulation only, after the ovulation process only, the progesterone is going to be released. Now see here, this is the happening, the ovulation is taking place before the follicular phase. So no role of progesterone before the ovulation. So progesterone is released after the ovulation process only from the corpus luteum. When the Graafian follicle turns into corpus luteum, then only the progesterone is going to be released. So no role of progesterone in the process of ovulation, right? Here low concentration of LH. So this is also wrong, because so before the ovulation process, just before the day of the ovulation process, LH surge takes place. LH surge means the high amount of luteinizing hormone is going to be released. Due to this only the ovulation takes place. Low concentration of SH, low concentration of FSH. Here let us see high concentration of estrogen, high concentration of estrogen, high concentration of progesterone, this is wrong. Low concentration of LH, this is wrong. Low concentration of follicle stimulating hormone. Now if we observe the particular diagram, if you observe that particular diagram, so which is given in our textbook, here FSH and LH levels, generally they reach peak at the stage of ovulation. But here regarding about this FSH and LH, the statement, both the statements are wrong statements only. Low concentration of FSH and low concentration of LH. Now here, this is the ovulation period, this is the 14th day of the menstrual cycle. If we observe the levels of follicle stimulating and luteinizing hormone, they reach their peak at the stage of ovulation. Now this is wrong statement, and this is wrong statement, and this is wrong statement. Now the correct statement is this one, high concentration of estrogen. Estrogen also they are going to reach the peak levels. So but the progesterone in the follicular stage, the progesterone levels in the follicular stage, they remain low level only. They remain low level, and the amount of the progesterone is maintained very stable till the stage of ovulation. After the ovulation, the progesterone levels are going to be raised. The progesterone levels are going to be raised. Yes, you just keep it in the mind. So this is the right answer, high concentration of estrogen. If this particular statement, low concentration of LH, instead of this one, high concentration of LH, if it could be given, then this will be the right answer. This would be the right answer, but here low concentration has been given, right? Here the high concentration of estrogen is the right answer. Now let us check second one. Next one. No new follicles develop in luteal phase of the menstrual cycle, because here in the luteal phase, or else we can say that is the secretory phase, no new follicles are going to be developed. In the luteal phase, what happened? The progesterone levels going more, and the endometrium is going to be developed more and more. So to accommodate upcoming embryo. So at the time, if progesterone levels are more, what happens here? Progesterone levels are more as well as the estrogen levels are more. Here no new follicles are going to be developed because of the progesterone. Follicles do not remain in the ovary after the ovulation. So many follicles are present in the ovary. So after ovulation too, so many follicles. So that could be in the primary follicles or secondary follicles. So there are around 60,000 to 80,000 oogonia are present in each ovary. So here this is the wrong statement. Follicle stimulating hormone levels are high in the luteal phase. So this is also wrong statement, right? LH levels also are high in the luteal phase. So this is also wrong. So because after the luteal phase, so here up to ovulation period, follicle stimulating hormone as well as luteinizing hormone, they reach their peak, gradually in the secretory phase or else luteal phase, their amount is going to be reduced, right? So these both statements are wrong. Both follicle stimulating and luteinizing hormone levels are low in luteal phase. Here we have to think about the right statement. Follicles, so this is the wrong, and follicle stimulating hormone levels are high in the luteal phase. Luteinizing hormone levels are high in the luteal phase. So this is the right statement here. Both the follicle stimulating hormone as well as LH levels are low in the luteal phase. So this is the right statement here. This is the right statement here. So if follicle stimulating hormone as well as luteinizing hormones are present at their peak level, if they are present in high concentration, then only the primary follicles are going to be turned into secondary follicle, and from there it's going to be turned into tertiary follicles. But here in the luteal phase, the both follicle stimulating hormone and luteinizing hormone levels are low in the luteal phase. That's what no new other follicles in the luteal phase are going to be developed, right? So this is the right statement. And now we'll check, match the items given in the column. Right here the two statements are given. So column 1 and column 2, proliferative phase, it also can be said as follicular phase. Now this is the follicular, A is 2, right? Here if we observe this A1, so only C option is given here, so directly we can put this one. And the secretory phase, this is known as luteal phase. So B is 3, and menstruation, breakdown of the endometrial lining. So this is the menstruation, this is called menstruation. Simply this is the direct and purely knowledge based question. It was asked in 2018. Right, changes in gonadotrophic releasing hormone. So from where it is going to be released? So it is going to be released from the hypothalamus, which in turn, so it is going to initiate, so from there gonadotrophic releasing hormone, so it's going to act on the anterior pituitary. So as a result, follicle stimulating hormone as well as the luteinizing hormone are going to be secreted from the anterior pituitary. Actually this hormone is going to be secreted from hypothalamus, right? So changes in gonadotrophic releasing hormone pulse, that means the amount of gonadotrophic releasing hormone frequency in females is controlled by circulating levels of. Now let us check. So this is the hypothalamus, right? Hypothalamus. From here gonadotrophic releasing hormone is released. From here the follicle stimulating hormone is going to be secreted, as well as, so it's going to act on anterior pituitary, right? So the two hormones are released from the anterior pituitary. One is follicle stimulating hormone and second one is luteinizing hormone. Now, so this follicle stimulating hormone is going to act on follicles in case of females, right? Follicles in case of females. So it's going to act on Sertoli cells in case of males, and luteinizing hormone is going to act on Leydig cells in case of males, right? So this particular luteinizing hormone act on follicles, that is Graafian follicles, in order to release ovum from the Graafian follicle in case of females. So this is the actual mechanism of the hormones. The question is here, changes in gonadotrophic release of hormone pulse frequency in females is controlled by circulating levels of. Let us see this. Progesterone only, progesterone and inhibin, estrogen and progesterone, estrogen and inhibin. Let us check the right answer, which is here progesterone only. So no talking about here about progesterone, because progesterone is not going to be released and it's not going to show any impact on gonadotrophic release hormone. Progesterone inhibin, so we should check this one. So here the progesterone also given, so but because this one also wrong answer. So inhibin, where does it is produced from? So inhibin, it is produced from, this is produced from, so Sertoli cells, from Sertoli cells. So inhibin is going to be produced, inhibin in case of males, this is in case of males. In case of females, granulosa cells around the follicles, so they are going to release inhibin. So if this inhibin is released, it is going to act on gonadotrophin releasing hormone in order to control its secretions, as well as, so when it is this particular follicle stimulating hormone acting on Graafian follicles, it is going to release, Graafian follicle is going to release estrogen. Now these estrogen levels, they are also going to act on, so this particular hypothalamus not to release gonadotrophin releasing hormone. Now the estrogen as well as inhibin, so these both the hormones are going to send the negative feedback to the hypothalamus not to release gonadotrophin releasing hormone in case of females. Now we will see whether there is an option or not. Estrogen and progesterone, this is also wrong answer. See here, in these three options you can come across progesterone. If the progesterone is present in that option, they are wrong options, right? Here we will see that the estrogen and inhibin are the right answer. Here this is the right answer, estrogen and inhibin, right? And again we will check the next one. Fifty-fourth question here. Select the incorrect statement. Now we have to pick the incorrect statement which is not correct. Luteinizing hormone and follicle stimulating hormone decrease gradually during the follicular phase. Follicular phase, that is the first phase, that is proliferative phase. In that stage we can see that luteinizing hormone is going to reach at the 14th day of the menstrual cycle. This is the luteinizing hormone. Even the follicle stimulating hormone also going to raise. So see, if you observe the levels of the follicle stimulating hormone as well as luteinizing hormone, they are going to reach their peak in case of follicular stage, or else this is known as follicular stage, also known as proliferative stage. Now we have to pick the incorrect statement. This is the right statement. See, LH and FSH decrease gradually during the follicular phase. That person is, the examiner is saying their levels are going to be decreased, but this is the wrong, right? LH triggers secretion of androgens from the Leydig cells. This is a right answer, right? This is the correct answer. This is the correct statement. LH, so luteinizing hormone, triggers secretion of androgens from the Leydig cells. It is going to act on the Leydig cells in case of males, and luteinizing hormone is going to act on Graafian follicle in case of females in order to release ovum from the Graafian follicle. But in case of male, it is going to act on Leydig cells, which resulting the releasing of oral secretion of the androgens. The main chief androgen is testosterone. This is the right statement. Now follicle stimulating hormone stimulates Sertoli cells which help in spermiogenesis, right? So spermiogenesis already we discussed, and we have to focus more and more. This kind of statements are asked in the examination. First we should have sound knowledge over all these terms. Spermiogenesis process initiated by the Sertoli cells. So secretions of the Sertoli cells. Already we said that androgen binding protein as well as inhibin, these are the two factors which are released from the Sertoli cells, when follicle stimulating act on Sertoli cell. So this help in spermiogenesis process. Yes, this is right answer. When we were discussing the spermatogenesis process, we were discuss this one. And luteinizing hormone triggers ovulation in ovary. Luteinizing hormone triggers ovulation in ovary. Right, but it is not ovulation in ovary. So ovulation process from the Graafian follicle. Now the incorrect statement is incorrect. So of course, so this could be the right. So this one is right and this one is right. Here luteinizing hormone and follicle stimulating hormone decrease gradually during the follicular phase, the wrong one. So this is the wrong one. We have to pick the right answer as A. This is the right answer. Okay. Remaining all these statements are right. Right. And we'll check the next one. Identify the correct statement on inhibin. So we have to pick the correct statement regarding inhibin, right? It is produced by granulosa cells in ovary and inhibits the secretion of LH. So it's going to be secreted from the granulosa cell, but it is inhibiting the secretion of LH. But see here, the statement up to here it is right, because the inhibin which is secreted from the granulosa cell in case of females, but it's going to inhibit the secretion of follicle stimulating hormone. But in this statement, if you observe, it's going to inhibit the secretion of LH. Now this is the wrong statement. This is the wrong statement, right? And it is produced by nerve cells in the sense Sertoli cells. In case of males, the Sertoli cells are going to produce two kinds of hormones. One is androgen binding protein and second one is inhibin, right? So it is produced by nerve cells. Nerve cells means that is Sertoli cells in testis and inhibits the secretion of LH. Here also LH given, but the statement is wrong because secretion of inhibin, which is ultimately is going to inhibit the secretion of follicle stimulating hormone. This is also wrong statement, right? Inhibin inhibits the secretion of LH, FSH and prolactin. This is also wrong statement because the inhibin, which is the hormone, it's going to regulate the secretion or inhibits means stops the secretion of follicle stimulating hormone only. Now this is also wrong statement. And inhibin is produced by granular cells of the ovary and it inhibits the secretion of follicle stimulating hormone. Now this is the right statement. Already we discussed this one, right? So this is the inhibin. Inhibin is the hormone here, which I write here. Inhibin is the hormone. So this is the inhibin. This is the inhibin hormone, which is secreted in case of females. By granulosa cells around follicle, different follicles. Okay, so granulosa cells are present around the different follicles, right? These granulosa cells are going to release inhibin. So this particular inhibin is going to inhibit follicle stimulating hormone, release of follicle stimulating hormone. So in case of males, this particular inhibin is going to release from Sertoli cells, or else we call it as nerve cells. So these Sertoli cells and nerve cells, they are going to release the hormone which we call it as inhibin. This inhibin is also going to regulate or stops or inhibits the secretion of follicle stimulating hormone. So entirely here, see here once, follicle stimulating hormone is in proportional to that is inhibin. So keep it this statement in the mind, fix it in your brain. So when this follicle stimulating hormone is raised, what happens? The inhibin is going to be lowered. So if the inhibin is going to be high, so this follicle stimulating hormone is going to be lowered. So in the same way, this testosterone is indirectly proportional to this is luteinizing hormone. Keep it this one also in your mind, that is high amount of luteinizing hormone, it's going to prevent the secretion of testosterone, or else we can say if the amount of testosterone are more, then this particular luteinizing hormone is going to be lowered. So these are the two phenomena you must remember in your brain. Right, next let us see. Yes, here this one is over. We'll check the next one. Which of the following events is not associated with ovulation in human females? The statement which are not associated with ovulation process. Release of secondary oocyte. In the ovulation process, the ovum is released in the stage of secondary oocyte only. Now this statement is right statement, which is associated with the ovulation process. And LH surge, due to luteinizing hormone surge only, the ovulation takes place on the 14th day of the menstrual cycle. Now this is also right statement. And decrease in estradiol which is not at all related to our menstrual cycle. So now this is the wrong statement. And full developed Graafian follicle. So full developed Graafian follicle also related to ovulation process. So fully developed or matured follicle, Graafian follicle, so rupture of this particular Graafian follicle only leads to ovulation process. Now this is also related to ovulation process. Now decrease in estradiol, which is not at all related to menstrual cycle. Now this is the right answer. We have to pick that one, right? The main function of the mammalian corpus luteum is to produce progesterone. That we know that after the ovulation, the Graafian follicles generally we consider it as the corpus luteum, which in turn secretes more amount of progesterone in order to development of the endometrium layer inside the uterus, right? So now the progesterone, this answer is present. These are some of the questions which were asked very directly in 2015 and 2014 NEETs, right? Menstrual flow occurs due to lack of here. Menstrual flow occurs due to lack of. So if the progesterone is there, what happens from the corpus luteum? The progesterone is going to be secreted. If the progesterone is there, what happens? The endometrial layer is going to be developed more and more, right? You should visualize that particular diagram which is given in our NEET textbook. You should visualize when we are talking about the menstrual cycle. You should recall it, and the picture should dance in your eyes. So these are the two follicle stimulating and luteinizing hormone and the endometrial layer. So all these things they should come back in your mind, right? So menstrual flow occurs due to lack of oxytocin, progesterone, vasopressin, which is not at all related to our menstrual cycle, and oxytocin also not at all related to menstrual cycle. Here the progesterone is the right answer. Follicle stimulating hormone, so it is it reaches to the peak amount so at the time of follicular phase, but here the menstrual phase, menstrual flow occurs due to the lack of progesterone. See here, if the progesterone is not properly secreted after the pregnancy too, what happens? Abortions generally occur, right? So this answer is progesterone. Now we will see the next one. The secretory phase in human menstrual cycle is also called secretory phase, that is luteal phase. Now here see the options are given differently. Luteal phase, so just secretory phase, it is also known as luteal phase. So generally this particular luteal phase, so 1, 2, so this is the 5th day, from the 5th day to 14th day, this is follicular phase. From 14th day to 28th day, so it generally lasts about 13 to 14 days. This is luteal phase. Now luteal phase and lasts for about 6 days, but it's not 6 days, this is around 13 to 14 days. Follicular phase, this is not follicular phase. Luteal phase and lasts for about 13 days. Luteal phase, it lasts about 13 or 14 days. Now this is the right answer. This C is the right option. Follicular phase and loss, this is not at all follicular phase. Secretory phase is known as luteal phase, right? And next one, about which day in a normal human menstrual cycle does rapid secretion of luteinizing hormone, that is LH surge, so normally occurs. So just before the ovulation process, LH surge occurs. Before just day before ovulation, LH surge takes place, right? So ovulation generally takes place on 14th day. So before day, in the sense it could be on 13th or it could be on 14th. If the option is given 13th, then you can say easily you can put the right answer is 13th. If the option is 14th day, you can say you can put 14th day. If at all, if there is 15th day also present in the option, then you can put 13th, 14th or 15th day. So we'll check here 14th day, 20th day, 5th day, 11th day. Now the right answer is 14th day, right? And next we'll check other one. Which one of the following is the correct matching of the events occurring during the menstrual cycle? Here we have to match the different events which are taking place in menstrual cycle. Proliferative phase, so correctly matched. We have to pick the correct pair from these 4 pairs. Proliferative phase, rapid regeneration of myometrium. So we are not at all going to deal with the myometrium, which is the middle layer of the uterus, which is made up of smooth muscles, which have the very great capacity of relaxation and contraction. So at the time of paturation, these myometrium is going to contract in order to expel the embryo, expel the baby from the birth canal. So that is the role of myometrium, but it's not going to play any kind of role in case of menstrual cycle. So if we are talking about the menstrual cycle, we must discuss the lower or else the inside layer, that is the endometrium. we should always talk about the endometrium only, but not about the myometrium, but not about the perimetrium, which is which surrounds the outer region of the uterus. That is the perimetrium. Perimetrium, myometrium, endometrium. Perimetrium outermost layer, and myometrium is a thicker layer which is made up of smooth muscles, and which is the middle layer of the uterus, and the inner layer, that is the endometrium. That is the endometrium. So, we are going to we are going to observe the changes in the endometrium only, but not in the myometrium. So, this is, we can put wrong mark for that. Secretory phase, development of the corpus luteum. Development of the corpus luteum, there is a right statement, and increase the secretion of progesterone. This is the right statement regarding this secretory phase. Secretory phase, also known as luteal phase. Luteal phase. In this luteal phase, after the ovulation, the Graafian follicle is going to turn into the corpus luteum, which it secretes the more amount of progesterone in order to develop the endometrial layer inside the uterus. Now, this is the right statement. Okay, and the menstruation. Breakdown of myometrium. See, again he is giving the myometrium. So, breakdown of endometrium takes place in the menstruation. So, right. So, this is also wrong statement. And ovulation. So, luteinizing hormone and follicle stimulating hormone attain peak levels, and sharp fall in the secretion of progesterone. Sharp fall in secretion of progesterone. So, this is the wrong statement. So, attain peak level, of course. So, at the time of ovulation, LH reaches its peak level. Okay, FSH in the peak level, and sharp fall in the secretion of progesterone. So, here we are not talking about the progesterone, but here it has been given like this. So, this statement is also wrong, right? And we will check the next one. Right, this is the next one. Which one of the following is the most likely root cause? This is the root cause why the menstruation is not taking place in regularly cycling human female. So, the question is very simple here. So, which is the root cause for not the irregular menstrual cycle? The irregular menstrual cycle, he is saying maintenance of the hypertrophical endometrial lining. Hypertrophical in the sense the endometrium is going to become more and more thick, that is known as hypertrophical. Hypertrophy means the cell division, the division of cells which are present in the endometrium, they are going to divide very rapidly than the normal. Okay. So, this is known as hypertrophical. The cells will become very larger in the endometrium. So, maintenance of the hypertrophical endometrial lining, okay, and maintenance of high concentration of sex hormones in the bloodstream, okay, and retention of well developed corpus luteum. So, if the corpus luteum is well developed, what happens? The progesterone is going to be secreted. If the progesterone is going to be secreted, what happens? The endometrium is going to be developed more. So, but here fertilization of ovum. Here, which one of the following is the most likely root cause? Why likely? Most of the times. See, here you have to observe each and every word. So, most cases, in case of most cases, he is giving which one of the following is the most likely root cause why menstruation is not taking place in regularly cycling human females. Fertilization of ovum. This is not the regular case. This is somewhat peculiar case, right? And retention of well developed corpus luteum. Maintenance of high concentration of sex hormones in the bloodstream. So, this is the right one. So, these are the sex hormones, estrogen and progesterone. So, if the maintenance of high concentration of estrogen and progesterone, here retention of well developed corpus luteum, which leads to secretion of more amount of progesterone. So, that statement also covered in this one. So, that is a hidden statement which is given in this statement. Maintenance of high concentration of sex hormone, that is nothing but estrogen and progesterone levels are high. So, when the estrogen and progesterone levels are high, in that case the menstrual cycle is going to be ceased temporarily. So, that is the main reason. Now, see, if you want to postpone your menstrual cycle, if there is something puja, so you are going to administer some tablet. So, in that tablets also you will have the sexual hormones, that is estrogen, progesterone hormones are they are present in that particular tablet or in that particular pill. If you are taking in the sense, you are going to introduce estrogen, progesterone into your bloodstream, which is going to postpone your menstruation, right? So this is the right answer here in this case. Maintenance of high concentration of sex hormones in the bloodstream, that is estrogen and progesterone, right? And let us check next one. Which one of the following statement is incorrect about the menstruation? Now we have to find out the incorrect statement about the menstruation. At menopause in females, there is especially abrupt increase of gonadotrophic hormones. So what are the gonadotrophic hormones? Gonadotrophic hormones are luteinizing hormone and follicle stimulating hormone. If these hormones are released, what happens? It leads to menopause. So this is the right statement. The beginning of the cycle of menstruation is known as menarche. Yes, this is also right statement. So during the normal menstruation, about 40 ml of blood is lost. Yes, this is also right statement. The menstrual fluid can easily be clot. So the menstrual fluid can easily be clot. So this is the generally the menstrual what is that? The menstruation. In the menstruation, blood comes out. So as normal blood clots, the menstrual blood also clot like that only. But here the menstrual fluid can easily be clot. The option is this one is incorrect statement. This is the incorrect statement. During the normal menstruation, around 40 ml of blood is lost. This is the right statement, this is the right statement, this is the right statement. These three are the correct statement, whereas the fourth statement which is given, the menstrual fluid can easily be clot, is the wrong answer, right? Let us check the next one. Which part of the ovary in mammals act as an endocrine gland after the ovulation? That is very simple one. So Graafian follicle. If it is Graafian follicle is given, so you can put Graafian follicle as the right answer. If there is no Graafian follicle, if there is corpus luteum is there, then you can directly put corpus luteum. Here the Graafian follicle has been given, so directly you can put Graafian follicle is the right answer. Next one, we'll check it. In the human female, menstruation can be deferred by the administration. Deferred means postpone or else prolonged or postpone. Deferred means here. In the human female, menstruation can be deferred by the administration of combination of estrogen and progesterone. Just now we discussed this one. So if you want to postpone your menstrual cycle, if there is any like puja like that, then you can take the pills which contains the combination of estrogen and progesterone. So this is the right answer. Withdrawal of which of the following hormone is the immediate cause of menstruation? So ultimately, if there is progesterone levels are more in your blood, what happens? The menstruation is going to be postponed. If we are taking the entire progesterone from your blood, immediately the menstruation start. Keep it in the mind. So the answer is progesterone. If mammalian ovum fails to get fertilized, which one of the following is unlikely? So unlikely means that is not true. If the mammalian ovum fails to get fertilized, which one of the following is not going to be happen? Unlikely in the sense not going to be happen. Here, corpus luteum will disintegrate. See here, if the mammalian ovum fails to get fertilized, so ovum is not going to be fertilized here. Which one of the following is not happening? Right? Corpus luteum will disintegrate. Progesterone secretions rapidly declines. Estrogen secretion further increases. Primary follicle start developing. Follicle starts developing. See here, if the mammalian ovum fails to get fertilized, see ovum is not going to be get fertilized. Now fertilization process is not taking place. Which one of the following is not happening? So if the fertilization is not taking place, which is not happening here, corpus luteum will disintegrate. It happens, right? If fertilization doesn't take place, corpus luteum will disintegrate, right? This is the right answer. And progesterone secretion rapidly decline. This is also right answer. And estrogen secretion further increases, right? This is right. And for primary follicle starts developing. So here we can say the primary follicle starts developing and estrogen secretion further increases. So estrogen also going to be decreased. The primary follicles starts developing, right? Next we'll see this one. Ovulation in the human female normally takes place during the menstrual cycle. See here we can check it. We can check the different phases. which have been given here. At the mid of secretory phase, so this is not the right answer. See here, this is the first day, this is the this is the 5th day, and this is the 14th day, and this is the 28th day. This is secretory phase, this is the secretory phase, this is follicular phase, or else we can say this follicular phase, we can say this one other name, and this is the secretory phase or luteal phase. So this is the follicular phase, okay. And we'll check this one. Ovulation in the human female normally takes place during menstruation cycle. Ovulation at the end of follicular phase. This is the end of the follicular phase. This is the ovulation phase. This is the secretory phase. At the end of follicular phase, it is going to take the ovulation process, or else before the starting of secretory phase, or else before starting the luteal phase, the ovulation is taking place here, right? Here we'll check the options. At the mid of secretory phase, here he is saying at the mid of the secretory phase, this is wrong. And just before the end of the secretory phase, just before, that means here he is saying around 26th day, so this is also wrong answer. At the beginning of proliferative phase, this is the proliferative phase, or follicular phase. At the beginning, here also not taking, ovulation is not taking place. At the end of proliferative phase, this is the end of the proliferative phase, here it is taking place. Now the right answer is this one. At the end of proliferative phase, it is taking place. And which set is similar? Corpus luteum, Graafian follicle. This is the right answer. And after the ovulation, Graafian follicle regress into. Regress means here it transfers into. If you don't know the meaning of regress, here, you must try to understand the meaning of the word by its context, which context it has been given. By reading that particular statement or reading that particular phrase, you must try to understand the meaning of this unknown word. So after ovulation, Graafian follicle regress into corpus luteum. So it's going to be transferred into corpus luteum, right? In fertile human female, approximately on which day of the menstrual cycle does ovulation takes place? It is the 14th day, right? Leave it. The mammalian corpus luteum produces progesterone. This is also direct one. In the 28th day of human ovarian cycle, the ovulation takes place typically on 14th day of this cycle. So these are some of the questions which were asked very directly. So this is the before so many decades before it was happened, but it's not like that. So upcoming exam, in the upcoming exam, so many typical concepts and so many typical questions may be asked. So depending on your conceptual understanding, your knowledge, the questions are going to be asked. So you must be very careful when you are reading or else you are going through the lines of the textbook. You must concentrate very carefully. You must read each and every word of the textbook. Then only you can write, you can answer any kind of questions. So we cannot expect what kind of questions may be asked. So what style of questions being asked in the examination, we can't expect. So you must be very careful while you're reading your textbook, and you must understand each and every point of the textbook. Then only you can answer the question, right? We'll meet in the next session. Till next session, have a great day.